5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please do not change channel.
From Krypton Radio, brought to you by Famous Faces and Funnies and Off the Chain with Yvonne Mason, it's the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour, the Internet's premier pop culture talk radio show. You're tuned in, you're logged on, and now your hosts, G.W. Pomichter and Christian Basel. Who are you hanging with?
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome to the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour. I'm G.W. Pomichter.
I'm Christian Basel. Welcome, gang. Welcome back to another episode.
Yes. We're going to have a little bit of fun tonight, guys. We are going to be joined by some fantastic musicians and musical artists. Tonight's topic is going to be the sounds of sci-fi, the music and scores that have made our most memorable, most awesome properties so memorable. Before we kick that off, though, we want to just give a great big shout-out to all of y'all listening on Krypton Radio. We're so happy to be here alongside some fantastic other shows like Gallifrey Stands and just so many fantastic...
Mighty Aphrodite.
Mighty Aphrodite, the first Krypton Radio produced animated show. And we are just really excited. Christian, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing really good. Gene was kind of told me off to the side. He goes, I'm a radio station, and I'm making an animated series. Does that make sense to you? And I said, Gene, you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but, you know, we're an online television show that makes a radio hour once a week. So, hey, everybody's doing everything.
But congratulations to Gene and everybody at Krypton Radio, because they not only made their first line goal within days, but they're now reaching their stretch goal. And if you still want to contribute, Gene is still taking funds. The more money to get in, the better the quality of animation, also more episodes that he'll put out there. Just simply go to Krypton Radio, find the links to Mighty Aphrodite. I think we're going to put it on this episode, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll put the links down on? We'll put the links down on here if you want to check out this episode. Check out the links. I think it's also mightyaphrodite.com, if I'm not mistaken. If not, go to kryptonradio.com and you can link up to fund this incredibly wonderful, talented man for this incredible series that's coming out.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic. And you know what? We've also got our news coming up. So we've got some sci-fi, pop culture, fantasy news brought to you by our very own Sage Ia.
Do, 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 do.
All right, that's funny. You still get a kick out of having your own theme, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
So
what's going on in the news?
Is that closing counter?
Yes, it was. Thank
you.
Oh,
cool.
Isn't that
See
awesome?
that? See, this is going to be a fun talk. We know our stuff.
It is. It's
all
going to
right.
be awesome.
So what's going on in the news?
All right, so in the news, this past Tuesday, they did a red carpet premiere at the Walt Disney Concert Hall in L.A. for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It is the 25-year anniversary of the Jurassic Park franchise. Now,
awesome.
The official premiere in the movies for all of us in the theaters is June 22nd.
Why do we have to wait?
Well, because we are not as special as Jeff Goldblum, who actually attended the red carpet premiere, and he imagined a conversation between himself and a dinosaur. And he was like, well, what do you need? And how can we live together peacefully? And if you need us to stay away, that's fine. If you want something, just tell us, because eventually there will be dinosaurs in our dinosaur park.
Wow. So he just went all full Goldblum on there, huh?
He did, yes. They are expecting $145 million for their launch weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
No, we're close to Infinity Wars, by the way, who is really close to reaching $2 billion worldwide.
Wow. I'll take half that in cash.
Just a quarter of that would be fine.
Take 1/10 of that in cash.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll just take cash, period. $1, 50 cents.
Take cash, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll just take cash, period. Any kind of cash will do. What else you got?
Well, before Jurassic World, everybody can hit the theaters to see Incredibles 2, which is the Pixar sequel, and that's June 15th. And Elastigirl takes the spotlight.
Well, yeah.
Yes, she said no one is beyond her reach.
Which makes sense if you're Elastigirl.
It does, yes.
That's actually,
and that's voiced by Holly Hunter, if anybody doesn't remember that.
Yeah,
But Pixar's looking forward to some good stuff with the animated sequel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, this is. I will admit, this is my guilty pleasure. I've been looking forward to this one.
Baby Jacks. It's all about the baby.
It's all about the baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
I agree. Well, and for TV, for those of us that like to binge watch, right?
Yeah.
Luke Cage Season 2 is dropping on Netflix on June 22nd. So, and they have their new villain, Bushmaster, who is up against Mariah Dillard.
Has anybody seen those teasers online yet? Christian, have you seen those teasers?
Alfred Woodard is amazing.
Not yet.
Oh, wow. There was a teaser dropped a couple days ago, and it just, wow.
Yep.
I mean, they cranked it up a notch with Season 1, but they're just, you can actually just see as they set a higher bar every single season on these Netflix shows. They're really rounding out the Marvel universe in a really cool way. So it's a lot of fun to see. What else you got in the news?
Well,
you got like pages and pages over there.
I do. I have a little bit to prepare us for tonight's theme. Okay, according to Variety magazine, they just recently did an article, and they said some of the most compelling music for TV right now is being written for sci-fi and fantasy.
Actually, I don't know if that's news. Isn't that like the way it is? I mean, it really.
Well, you would think, but it was news enough to make an article.
Okay, well.
Yeah. Well, currently we have Christopher Leonard's 53-piece orchestra for Lost in Space.
And on Netflix.
Yes, the new reboot.
Lost in Space.
Yes.
Wow.
And then Jeff Russo had a 64-piece orchestra for Star Trek Discovery.
Wow.
Yeah.
So television is bringing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have one more.
Okay.
We have Bruce Broughton, who is a 10-time Emmy Award winner, and he writes music for the Orville, and he had 70 to 85 pieces in his orchestral music for the Orville.
Wow.
So
it's impressive.
really
It's impressive what they're bringing
Yes,
to television now. It really is. So, I mean, especially through streaming services.
No, I'll be more impressed if they have enough people to fill in Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. There's just like 4 people with a washboard and a bass tub and going, make a theme song right there. And then I will be impressed if they can pull it off there. That's impressive.
Speaking of iconic music, that's right.
See,
that's the whole that leads us into our topic, which is fantastic. Our topic tonight, everybody, is the iconic music, the sounds of sci-fi, the iconic music that has really been celebrated. Our first guest on the line tonight is Mike Fern, who leads up the Brothers of Alien Rock. Mike, how are you, man?
Hey, good. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Love what you're doing. You guys are, like we talked about at MegaCon when we did last interview. It's just amazing to have you guys on and so integral and part of the scene. And to have it stretch out, not just regionally, but we're stretching. You're going all the way out north and out west and everything. It's a real treat to have you guys in the mix. And thanks for having me on for tonight, because these two subjects, sci-fi, fantasy, and music, are pretty much my life. I mean, it's all of our lives, really. It all ties in.
Yeah, well,
but it's just from a young age.
Yeah, you've taken your fandom to a whole new level, your fandom and your musical skills, and combine them to create something that's pretty special. And we want to get a chance to talk about that a little bit more. So let's just kind of dive into it, guys. We all know, I think, it's going to go around the panel here. Most iconic film score of all time. All right, Christian, what do you think? Instantly recognizable.
Oh, you're just going to throw that at me and just let my gears grind in my head to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Wow. Good. As far as film or TV, or
film or TV,
strictly
anything
film?
that just like first few bars and you know what you're listening to, like automatically. It says that is it, man. It's indelible.
It's funny as it sounds. Jaws.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Jaws.
Yep.
You just hear that violin start, and if you're in a swimming pool, you get out immediately.
Which, by the way, according to Ranker, Jaws is the number 5 ranked film score of all time. Of course, by the
incomparable,
truly incomparable John Williams. What do you think, Mike? What do you think? What's the most easiest recognizable music score of all time?
Well, at this point, I'm allowed to say this because I was there standing in lines as a little kid when it came out. And I know it's going to be a little cliche at this point, but, just talking to John Williams, it's Star Wars, the first – you don't even need two notes, one note. And it's – everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's immediate.
It is. It is automatically sort of right there. As soon as you hear the first note and you just hear that huge trumpet blast.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I'll say that, but I will add this in what Christian said about Jaws. I always say this about Williams too, because even though he was around before that, but Williams, as you know, ushered in a whole era, and with Jaws, I always tell everybody only this is the one composer with two notes started this entire genre, this entire idea of putting composers into movies, with dan. Two notes, a half step, done, and it's the most amazing idea if you think about it,
Well, it's not only that, but John Williams, and if you talk about movie scores and who has been the biggest influence of movie scores, there's no way you can't go throughout the generations without stumbling across him. Indiana Jones, all these movies that he's ever put out. I mean, all you have to do is know the score, and you know the genre, you know the film. And am I the only one who went into a swimming pool and would refuse to go to the deep end because they thought Jaws was in the deep end of the pool?
And again, speaking of music, if somebody was messing with you on a keyboard or something around the house when you went into the pool and you heard those two notes, you were out.
Exactly.
I mean, he was able to terrify you with just two notes. It's amazing. Speaking of John Williams is the most Oscar-nominated composer in films, with 51 Oscar nominations to his credit.
Yeah, it's so deserved, man. I mean, I tell you, all you have to do is close your eyes, and you could see the movie. That's what's so amazing about movie and film, is that those things are so well bonded together. And especially in his case, you just close your eyes and you just watch the movie in your head, and he takes you on these journeys that are incomparable. That's why he gets all those accolades.
Absolutely. And in the top, according to the Ranker article, in the top 10 musical scores of all time, 4 of them are John Williams.
Yeah.
So that tells you 40% of the best and most memorable scores of all time are John Williams scores.
Well, and we have mentioned Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and the other two are Jurassic Park,
Close Encounter,
and Superman.
Absolutely.
Oh, geez, Superman too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
it's a testament to John, because remember, Sage was just played 5 notes to a song, and I picked it out, Close Encounter of the Third Kind. How old is that film? I mean, how backdated is it? How much does people know about this film? But yet I can remember that from just 5 little notes that Sage just played.
Oh, absolutely.
And that completely tied into the movie too. I mean, it's the hand gestures and the signs. It's amazing how deep that goes.
It really was, because Close Encounters, and that kind of leads me to my next topic, because one of the things I wanted to kind of hit on with everybody was the whys. What is it about musical score that makes a film or a story of any kind so indelible just by hearing those few notes? And Close Encounter is a great example, because not only is the score memorable for the film, but it's an integral part of the film. It actually is a method of communication. So, Mike, let me ask you: when you're performing music, or when you're putting music together, how much thought is going into the story you're telling to your audience, and having that story be memorable just because of the music and the notes that you're putting together?
Well, I tell you, it's funny. It's such a long journey has been, like with all of us with this, And like I said, I was a kid standing in lines, and I was at 7 years old already wide-eyed, and then when seeing a movie like Star Wars, it just completely took my head off and threw it down the street. So when it comes to storytelling, and music together. It's funny. The further once I had that when I was a kid, and I was writing stories and doing all these things and doing art, drawing and doing all this stuff and making making ships out of paper plates and things like that. And then later on, I got more into music, and then that whole journey. And when those things combined, and the further I go along with things, it's funny because each one of those things, as an artist and as a musician, each one of those, you go down a path where you get really, really deep and you get technical and everything. But then you find out that in each one, and once you merge those together, it's a different thing. But the deeper you go with your craft, the more you actually pull back and simplify. So, and that's just only been really for me as an artist, and more as a musician, that in the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, where it's been like, I understand that one or two notes can create a mood and take you somewhere, and it's so incredibly important to keep it simple and keep it relative to what you're trying to say. If there's some kind of angry, kind of like anti against the man kind of message or something, it's going to be something. The music's going to be edgy. It's going to be energetic. It's so that those two really tie together. So yeah, the thought more than ever for me are the words and the tone. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm ripping on guitar and this and that. It doesn't matter. It's the tone and the feeling. It's the same way that people don't like that saying that people don't really remember what they say about what you say, but it's more how you left them, how you feel. Yeah. And the same is very much so true in music too.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the reasons that music plays such an integral role in this world. Because you can put side by side the pre-finished film showing, and then 5 minutes later show it with the score, and the emotional tone is different. Everything about it is different, and it's amazing to the point now where we know filmmakers and television producers are putting a lot of thought not into just overall music for a film, but something like Game of Thrones, for example. HBO's, doing amazing things with score. Every character, every house has its own tone, has its own theme song.
Yeah.
Every character has their own theme song. As soon as you hear the notes, you know who you're about to see.
Dun dun da dun dun da dum.
Wow.
Yeah, but that right. I mean, and going back to Williams, that's exactly what he did. That was one of the things when I said close your eyes. It's the same thing. Everybody has their own theme.
Yeah,
and if HBO and Netflix is picking up on that, it's insane.
It was incredible. This was a few years ago, but it speaks again to John Williams and his themes. A few years ago, with our boys around the house, we were watching Smallville, and they have a couple of scenes where Christopher Reeves and then again Margot Kidder do guest spots on the show, and when they did that, in the background, just ever so lightly, you could hear the 1978 Superman theme. And so when Christopher Reeves, before they ever show his face, the first thing you hear is that bum 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 bum, and something special is about to happen.
Yeah,
and
right.
And then you see Christopher Reeves, and there's a moment there for older people. Now we were the parents watching with our kids, and that was the moment where the show sort of became good. It was the moment when we were given permission from our generation to really enjoy the show, because Chris Reeves and John Williams were there with us for a moment, telling us it's okay, you can like this now, and it was really cool. It really was a moment, and then they did a great scene about a season later after Chris had passed away, and Margot Kidder did a fantastic emotional scene, and in the background of that scene was Come Fly With Me, the theme from their Flight Around the City. And I mean, it made that scene. So I literally remember watching her lines.
That still gives me chills. Still gives me immense
and her
chills.
lines. It was after Chris Reeves passing, and her lines were something about to the tone of talking to the now Martha Kent about how she knows what it's like to love someone with a bigger destiny. And then that music played, and I can remember becoming choked up at that scene, thinking, oh my God, the emotion and the layers of that scene was all highlighted by just, that theme. in the background.
They kind of gave us permission also recently with Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes,
because you got to hear that da-na-na, da-na-na, just enough,
very faintly into the back of all the new themes. It was sort of like, hey, we this was our third incarnation of Spider-Man.
I know, right?
And I mean, I think everybody, throughout pop culture, as it's sort of a universal thing where you say Tobey Maguire was an amazing Peter Parker, and then we had an amazing Spider-Man. And then,
Agreed.
See what I mean? We had a great Spider-Man, but before that we had an amazing Peter Parker. But now we have Tom Holland, who is both. And we weren't sure how to feel about that going into the theater for the first time. Oh my God, this is our third incarnation.
I know, too soon almost. It felt like.
Yeah, it felt like. And then you went in there, and
third time's the charm, though.
And that iconic, cartoon. It was from the cartoons. Remember, that's where that came from. That iconic Spider-Man music, just gently in the background, telling everybody it's going to be okay. This kid's going to bring it. And we believed him, and it worked because everybody, knows that worked out really well for everybody except Tom Holland. If you haven't seen Infinity War, we're sorry. That's all we'll say. We're sorry.
I don't want to go.
Spoiler.
I don't want to go. Anyway, so yeah, it is.
Talking about David Tennant, 10th Doctor, when he's leaving. That's
Speaking of which, again, there's another iconic property, our BBC import, Doctor Who, which Christian is very familiar with on so many levels. But its music is absolutely iconic. When you hear the Doctor Who theme music, you can instantly recognize it as what it is. You can almost instantly see the TARDIS traveling through time and space.
But it's not only that. Can you imagine this theme song has survived 50-plus years, and they've never changed it. They never recreated it. They've made some adjustments to it. They probably extended upon it. But it's the same thing that they did all the way back in 1963 when it became one of the very first electronic music signature tunes for any TV show. This was iconic, and they've kept that icon forever. And not only that, but Murray Gold, in the new series, when they started with Christopher Eccleston, he's either been nominated or he's won BAFTA awards. And he's been on the series for 10 years. And if you ever watch Doctor Who, a lot of it, especially at the beginning of the reboot, was atoned to Murray Gold and the way his music. He had a song for every. He had music for every character. He had music for the TARDIS. He had music for the bad guys. So anytime that person walked in, they had their own song.
It's a part of the storytelling process. It really is. And it becomes the music and the score become characters in and of themselves. Like you said, especially when you follow that Williams model or that modern model of characters and groupings getting their own themes. What you end up with is something where as soon as a music tone plays, you now know what characters are on screen. You could almost, as we talked about earlier, you can almost close your eyes and you know who's on screen. You know what's happening because of the music that's playing in the background. And that speaks so much to the role that music plays in making an emotional connection with your characters. And I think that's one of the things, because my next topic was to go around and say, have you guys ever seen just what storytelling-wise was a fantastic property that wasn't memorable, and that was one of the things that was missing was the music and the score and that kind of thing? Can you guys, anybody in the room there, kind of pinpoint something that stands out as not very good, but not because the story wasn't good, because it just didn't connect with you on that level the way emotional music can do it? Anybody?
I'm going to take this a little bit to the side and see if this answers your question a bit there. And I'm going to encompass everything Star Trek. I'm talking about Star Trek Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, and believe it or not, I have yet to hear in its full entirety Star Trek Discovery, so I'm going to leave that out for right now. But when you listened to the original series and Next Generation, the music that they played, it was da 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 da. I mean, it kind of lifted you, and when you heard the theme, it kind of said, "Okay, we're in the Enterprise. Here we go." And it was the same thing with the Next Generation. They just basically took the movie theme out from the Star Trek original series movies and made that the theme. Mm-hmm. you get Deep Space Nine and Voyager, it kind of dives down. It just starts to mellow out. It feels like I'm kind of like, we're not excited about it. We're kind of just mellowed down a little bit. If you hear Deep Space Nine and Voyager,
I think the Voyager and Deep Space Nine soundtracks were much more cerebral, much more explorative than the original and the Next Generation. I think part of that was overall tone of the shows being, even though the tone of Next Generation and the original series were explorative, they were also sort of, in Gene Roddenberry's own words, space westerns. There was an element of action, an element of adventure to them, and the tones as we go on became less action packed and less of that space western and more about reaching for the unknown. And in the unknown, we had a lot of instrumentals and a lot of orchestral direction, that this was more about the explorative nature and the quieter side of things, and they were more cerebral shows. DS9 was a micro political microcosm, so they were much more cerebral shows, and so that the tone was set very much. Christian's right. The tone was set for those shows very early on.
But also those themes would kick you into the adventure, even with Deep Space Nine, even though it was on a space station in the middle of nowhere. The theme even though it's more cerebral, the theme helps kick in. You're watching Star Trek. You're going on. I really just kind of fell back when they just stole the Patch Adams song. And just like, guys, you just can't come up with anything original or anything that's going to drive me in.
That actually is a really good point. Enterprise was a really good example.
That was Diane Williams who wrote that opening music.
Of experimentation. Was, if you look at the first season of Enterprise, that song is very much in its original, in its originally produced format, and it's very mellow and very low key. By season 2,
Diane Warren, I'm sorry.
By season 2, they had picked up the tempo. It was the same music, but they had picked up the tempo, so they knew that they were hitting the wrong notes for the show in that first season. Because
But you have to bring people into your world, and you got to bring it in fast. The theme song is to address the kind of atmosphere, not only the atmosphere, but the kind of action. If they're not impressed, you have 1 minute to pull people in. And my alien rock friend, back me up on this, or tell me I'm wrong here. But with Doctor Who, Doctor Who, they jazzed up the theme. They made it more exciting. But it's still the same theme. But even now, who's walking around whistling the Voyager theme? If there's a Trekkie walking around, they're going. They're not. I don't even know what the Voyager theme is that much.
Oh, the Voyager theme, very much more, like I said, very much more explorative. Push.
Right. It became the signature and the character of the show, and now, when I think about Star Trek, those are the music and themes that I think of. Mm-hmm. Those ones that pop in my brain, not the latter, but the earlier series.
Mike, what do you think? Any shows or properties that stand out to you as the score was the thing that didn't catch you right away?
Oh, didn't catch me right. I think I kind of missed the question in the beginning. I started thinking about other things that you guys are going off. I was thinking about.
We do that.
Sorry about that. I am half an alien, so I started thinking about. Maybe I'm going off a different trail here, but things that didn't catch me. I was thinking about eras pre of when a lot of this really took off, like pre-Williams we were talking about earlier, and I thought about how a lot of even Clint, and then going out of the genre here, but like Clint Eastwood movies and all these spaghetti western movies that happened and stuff. There was cool stuff in that too, but there was a lot of. I love those themes, but it seemed like in that particular. Maybe I'm just speaking of '60s and early '70s and somewhere too.
No. Curiously enough, on our top 10 list. Despite the fact that there literally were a dozen spaghetti westerns that Clint Eastwood did, and they really did this amazing job of telling these western stories. Only one of them made the top 10, and we all know which one. And you guys we can all whistle the tune, right? Because it's Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and we all remember the showdown in the street.
Yeah, but it's true. But with that. That's the thing. I was just saying. I was thinking about that era and how it was just so like there was nothing there. It was so, and I guess it's just kind of a different approach to storytelling and filmmaking. But it stood on its own in a different way. But I just remember thinking that even as a young kid, like wow. Even before I got into music, and I was like, wow. I just remember thinking it's just kind of dry. I know we're in a desert, and it's just kind of dry,
Exactly. And that is. And like I said, of all of those movies from that era, one makes the list as memorable for the score because of one set of notes in one particular scene. But that speaks very clearly to what Mike's talking about. That without the music, the dozens of other spaghetti westerns that were made. Are very dated, and it also talks to, as we talked about, that pre-Williams era, because Williams was, despite having won multiple awards since then, if you look back to that era, to that pre-1977 era, when television and even films to some degree were trying to popularize the soundtracks a lot more than they do today, and the soundtracks were getting more and more dated by their era. So
you had good really point.
Really heavy 70s music in the 70s, very disco inspired.
Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden John Williams comes along in the late 70s when everybody else is, Saturday Night Fever, and he comes along with an orchestral score, and we can't stop talking about it 40 years later. So
it's still going. Yeah, it's still going, and that's exactly why it is, because it doesn't date it. It's kind of has this whole. It doesn't really stick to any specific era. I mean, like all those, like even a lot of those, again, stuck in the 70s with some of these like the blaxploitation movies that came out and everything too. The same kind of thing. It was very specific to that genre, and maybe worth it for that. But again, you look back and they're awesome. But I mean, it's very dated. It
is. It dates the film a great way. We're going to have to take a little commercial break here, guys. And when we come back, we're going to dive back in to some of the more memorable scores of all times and the meaning that music has had to the films that we all love. So stick with us, stay tuned in, stay logged on, and see who we're hanging with next.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Hi, I'm Cosplay Michael with the Hangin' with Web Show, and you're listening to Krypton Radio. And remember, cosplay's for everyone.
Channeling the Mothership is an exciting journey into the higher mysteries. Certified psychic medium and clairvoyant Jerry McDaniel's readings, writings, and messages have been received by thousands of people in more than 45 countries. These messages have been obtained by channeling his higher self. How does he do it? Is it a blessing or a curse? And what lay beyond the reach of your five senses? These mysteries and so much more are examined in this explosive book, Channeling the Mothership. Explore the mysteries of the spiritual and the metaphysical. Channeling the Mothership by author Jerry McDaniel. Available on Amazon.com today.
All right, welcome back, World Wide Web. You're listening to the Hangin' with Web Show Radio Hour on Krypton Radio. You might actually be listening on iHeart Radio, maybe even on iTunes. You know why? Because we're everywhere, and it's awesome. It is so much fun. I'm GW Pomichter.
Oh. I'm Christian Basel. Welcome back, World Wide Web.
All right, we are joined on the line with Mike Fern from the Brothers of Alien Rock, and we have been diving deep into the meanings of music in our favorite pop culture properties. Wow, we've done John Williams, which is everything. It's everywhere.
Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Oh, my God.
Dun-dun-dun.
Really? Did you just do that?
It's iconic.
It is iconic. It truly is. You recognize
Did you guys hear my finger snaps?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
See?
we did.
Everybody knows that. Again, it gives you an immediate, and Christian hit it right on the head, right up front, in 30 seconds, maybe a minute at tops. It gives you an immediate connection to the universe you're about to enter, whether it's creepy and spooky. See what I did there?
I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I didn't even get a rim shot for that one. That's sad.
It's all together. It's all together ooky.
Yeah, it's all together ooky.
There you go.
There we go. She got a rim shot. Great.
Actually,
So,
what is it? I got one more thing. I got one more theme. Trust me on this one.
Absolutely.
You are about to enter a world.
That's right. I mean, that's right. These are the themes that instantaneously give us a connection. They know what's going on. Whether you're a huge fan of a particular show or not, you recognize. And again, that's part of one of the things we've talked about on the show a lot. Mike has heard us talk about. We talked about it with him in his video interview. Was the transition that we've seen from subculture to pop culture. And popular culture, it doesn't matter if people are fans of things or not anymore, the music connects them to a property instantly. Whether it's a Superman theme or a Star Trek theme, there's not a high school band anywhere that doesn't play the Star Wars theme at least twice a season.
Right.
I mean, it's something that is ingrained. Jurassic Park, another John Williams
Firefly
theme. Yes.
Oh, yes, Firefly.
We're on Krypton Radio.
I want to go to
know.
the crappy town where I'm a hero.
That's right. We all know the Firefly theme.
Alan Silvestri is another one who has made quite a leap too. Alan Silvestri, he with Back to the Future. That's where I first.
Oh yeah.
First
In fact, we know Back to the. We have a couple of songs and themes that have made it past just being iconic movie things. They've actually spent time on the Billboard charts. And Back to the Future is one of them. Huey Lewis's Power of Love spent 2 weeks at number 1 during the Back to the Future run. So Power of Love at number 1 for 2 weeks on the Billboard charts. Here's another interesting one, and you guys are going to love this. All of our sci-fi geeks are going to really get a kick out of this. In 1977, the Cantina theme from Star Wars spent 2 weeks in the Hot 100 for Billboard.
That's completely fresh. We love that.
Something that's the Cantina theme. I knew that Mike would like that because that's Brothers Bailey and Rock are bringing a whole new
Cantina.
look, a whole new look to rock and roll.
Yeah, it's a brand new Cantina, guys. It's like my son for his birthday. It's like 10th birthday. He which is just last year. He invited all his friends over to the house, and he had that theme on loop for like 6 hours on YouTube.
Wow!
Wow! I love this, my son, but it's kind of getting.
But can you imagine 2 weeks on the Billboard charts was in the 1970s of all times when disco was rolling, disco was rocking the charts, and then we had kind of the advent of what became 80s hair rock was coming up through on the charts with Kiss and other groups. So to have the Cantina scene, this kind of old-timey, almost a jazz club feel, hit the Billboard charts in that era is
total old school, totally different era. And the funny thing is, the hair bands were coming, yet those guys in the Cantina had no hair.
Exactly. No, they were our little gray aliens. And speaking of which, now Mike, you've got some things coming up with Brothers of Alien Rock. You got some big news coming out right these days.
Yeah, man. We just aside from MegaCon was an amazing experience. First off, it's just something we've been going to for years, and I just couldn't believe we were a part of it. It was really, really cool. And then the next thing we have, just kind of building up to this, coming this week is the Cosmic Film Fest is happening in Orlando as well. It's the second year for them, and we're playing that Saturday night. It's down in iDrive there. So give them a little plug. And also our video for Fire in the Blood, which is a little bit of a long-form video. It's a music video, but there's a few minutes ahead of it. In the top end of it, sort of like Michael Jackson did with Thriller, a little bit of pre-roll with some story.
More of a vignette with a music video.
Vignette, yeah, exactly. And that video has gotten onto it's one of the official selections for the film fest there. So
awesome.
So we're psyched about that. And also to parlay into the next thing, we're also that video is going to be part of another film fest coming up in July. And we're also going to be playing this place. We're going to actually be playing Roswell, New Mexico, which is a homecoming for us. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
That's so awesome.
Literally a homecoming.
It's so sick, guys. I can't even tell you. There's so much going on with it. Like like I'm tripping out here because I have like obviously if you know the story in there, it's in 1947 the alleged UFO crash there, and then the government said in plain as day in the newspaper there, it said they caught they got a flying saucer, and then they retracted the story, and it's a weather balloon, blah blah blah. So things like that come up, and like that newspaper called me a couple of weeks ago. I did an interview, and I'm like tripping. I'm like, oh my god,
wow.
And you know what I mean? It's stuff like that, and we're going to be in the parade.
That actually takes us right back to our topic of what's going on in themes and what goes on in the scoring of film and television. Because speaking of Roswell, probably one of the most memorable themes on television, certainly, would have been the X-Files theme. Which is now. Oh yeah, I mean it's everywhere. It's actually now in about a half a dozen video games retitled as Illuminati, or what they're calling it from Mark.
Illuminati, yeah, yep. There's memes all over town about that.
Oh yes, and that is the classic X-Files theme, which is "Sounds in the Key of X," was Mark Snow's original album, and just amazing stuff. Again, it added so much. It told you you're about to end. It was kind of like the Twilight Zone's an updated. You're about to enter a universe where all of these things are possible, and it set the tone, and it made you a believer for 1 hour a night, and it was just an amazing thing. And so, but that was great. It was great because he brought us right back to that through his trip to Roswell, which is what's the name of that convention again? It's the amazing Roswell UFO Festival. And it really is because the Amazing Roswell UFO Festival. It's amazing because it's running Friday, Saturday. It's on July 6th, 7th, and 8th. We're playing on Saturday night. It's going to be the high point, the big build up and all that. And also running parallel to it is the it's kind of like if anybody knows like the Bartow thing that happened, sci-fi Bartow back in February, kind of set up in that way, where it's like an outdoor kind of thing. It's very city-like and everything, a lot of vendors and stuff. But we're also, in addition to that, there's going to be a lot of serious speakers and like UFOologists, and so there's going to be a combination of sci-fi, fantasy, and believers. There's people that are studying and researching this stuff about aliens for real. And then right along with that is that film festival, the other one that our video is going to be in there. The Galacticon, Roswell Galacticon Film Festival. So it's a lot of stuff going on out there. It's going to be insane. I mean, another one key point I wanted to bring out that was really blowing my mind, that where the alleged site where the crash of the UFO happened back in 1947, that's been kind of a revered site for years for all sorts of people who are interested in this type of thing. And when we found out we were going to play it, I reached out to the radio station out there. I talked to the organizers and everybody in town there. I was like, yeah, we're gonna, and this is happening. But I said, yeah, we're gonna do a music video. We're gonna shoot a video right in the crash site and all this and that. And then after I barked about it, like this loudmouth. I found out afterwards that the site had not. It's been on private property. It hasn't been opened to the public for 71 years. That's the Mac Brazel Ranch.
Brazel Ranch, yeah. But what happened since we started the conversation and we started turning the buttons and then turning the dials and everything, the family decided to open it up to the public now and start tours and do this whole thing this year. And I feel partly responsible. And to me, I'm an avid researcher of this and lover of, like I said, of both fields of fantasy and of reality with this stuff. I always like to search for the truth because I know it's out there. And to me, I feel like I kind of tweaked a little bit of history, and it's it's why it's becoming even more and more special every time something like this happens with this festival.
These are the things that we love about what we get to do and the traveling that we get to do, is that we get to be a part of an ever-expanding universe that does clash. It clashes fantasy and science fiction with science reality and history and it's just amazing places. You're going to be out there it really is historical Roswell, New Mexico. We got to travel out there on our way to San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago. We got to stop at the Little Ailey Inn in Rachel, Nevada.
Great.
Up near Area 51, and that was a fantastic time.
The night was dark and full of terror.
Yes. Anybody who's ever traveled those New Mexico, Nevada roads at nighttime, there's a reason why we see UFOs. It's the only place you can see light anywhere.
Before you go.
Yeah, no doubt. So those are all great things happening, guys, and we look forward to hearing more from the Brothers of Alien Rock and where they're going to be up the road. Keep an eye on our Facebook page, our Twitter accounts, and our social media so that you can keep up with where the Brothers of Alien Rock are going to be. Fantastic musical group made up of fantastic guys. And and really weaving together popular culture and this community with music, which is a fantastic thing to do. I think for so long people just associated the geekdom with a bunch of geeks just kind of standing around staring at each other. They don't realize we actually like music too. You know, we like music and.
We could sort of dance sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, if you put enough cosplay on someone and they loosen up, then they can dance.
Hey, we can all do the best man's dance.
That's right. So, wow, man, that is fantastic.
Well, I tell you, Garrett, I tell you one thing I wanted to throw in there too, man. Just to kind of maybe wrap up that little part of it if you want. We keep going all night, no problem. But who doesn't want to talk about himself? But one thing with this trip that we're doing out there, we are on Indiegogo. We're doing an Indiegogo campaign.
Yep.
And it's closing in. It's under 3 weeks now, and with these campaigns go up, and they had a great start. It levels off, and now we're spiking. It's just the more you put into it, the more you get out. But what it basically is, if everybody can go to it, if you're listening to this, it's Road to Roswell. It's Road and then the number 2 Roswell, and that'll just there's a little video there, and it kind of gives you a little brief glimpse of what we're doing and what's going on, and then there's a little bit in me there. Talking about just joining us in the journey. There's a lot of all the perks and everything are there listed with it, but it's really about we got the gig kind of last minute, and we need a little help to kind of complete the journey a bit, and you see it all there. We want
to make sure we remind everybody, check that out, Road to Roswell on Indiegogo. We want to help these guys get where they're going. Look, these guys have been crash landed and in for 60 years now. It's time to send them back to Roswell. So everybody out there in the geekdom, please do what you can do. Check them out, Road to Roswell on Indiegogo. We at the Hangin' with Web Show have to submit our video to our friends at Brothers of Alien Rock about the first time we met the aliens among us.
First encounter.
Our first encounter. Yeah. So we'll be sending that over too. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Cool. And all right, guys, we're gonna kind of jump back on and finish up our topic a little bit here. And so with the final question here that I have on my list is for each of you guys to talk about a memory, something that's linked to the music of your favorite pop culture property. A memory that you might have, an experience that you might have, something that you've tied in. We know that smell and taste and these things are linked to memory, but so is music. And I can tell you, myself personally, my number one on my list was Star Wars. I didn't get a chance to say that when we went around the thing. And one of the reasons is because Star Wars was one of the first movies I got to see with my dad, and we literally stayed all day. We saw it 4 times. And it was an amazing day, and that theme music to this day, every time I hear it, reminds me of my dad and spending that time with him. And right down to, I know that our new Star Wars fans won't know this, but in '77, the music between the theme of Star Wars, when the scroll starts to roll, and the final trumpets of the 20th Century Fox logo back in the day, kind of blended together, and it made it all one thing. So for years and years and years, I thought the 20th Century Fox music was part of the Star Wars theme. when I was younger.
It is, man.
Because, if you remember, now we have LucasArts and Lucasfilms and everything else, but back in the day, 1977, it was released by 20th Century Fox, so you got that grand trumpet opening with the 20th Century Fox logo, and then it led into John Williams' Star Wars theme, and those things always went together for me growing up because they all remind me of that time I spent with my dad in the theaters in those first times. I saw it 26 times, but the first 4 times were with my dad in a little theater.
Oh, wow,
in
man. That is awesome.
And we just stayed in the theater all day long. We went in for a matinee, and I don't think we left until after the last show that night. I'm sure my mom wasn't happy. I was 7. So that I was out all night long. She probably wasn't happy with it, but we weren't leaving until they told us to. So everybody else, do you guys have a memory or something that's tied to the music of your favorite sci-fi property? How about you? Let's run over to Mike. We'll start with you.
Well, I tell you, I don't want to hog it all up because there's so many, man. Because I have the same, I'm not going to go as deep with you on the Star Wars thing because I have the same thing. I had the same with my dad because he grew up in the westerns and it was the bad guy with the black hat and the good guy with the white hat. And it was basically Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. I had those kind of memories. But there's I tell you, God, they all kind of stretch together. And I think it's a dad thing because it's funny because Father's Day is coming up here. And I think one of my biggest memories too, God, they all stream together but I think the biggest one that stands out really is with Indiana Jones, and Raiders and everything because my dad my dad was an actor too and he was an avid artist and everything and he kind of bounced back and forth between blue collar and artistry. He just kind of kept one help the other and this and that. But it's just like Harrison Ford. It was like Harrison Ford always reminded me of my dad. My dad was like my Indiana Jones when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And I think it's just I'm kind of joking up thinking about, but it's that's probably the biggest memory there. That's that really was tight. But probably my second one. Like I said, I don't want to ball hog, but the second one was going back to the Future. It's when that came out. Came out in '85. I was playing guitar for a year at that point, and one of the first songs that I played through a bunch of stuff. But one of the first songs I was going through, I was into this Chuck Berry thing, and I was already doing Johnny Be Good, and it was probably something I learned maybe. A month or so before. And the movie came out, and to see, Michael J. Fox, Martin McFly jumping on stage, he does that. I'm like mind blown again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, those two memories, those are pretty tight with me.
Fantastic, man. That's awesome. I have my own Chuck Berry memory. Years and years ago, my sister was very small, and again, my dad, when him and my mom split up, he took my sister to obviously Chuck Berry was a lot older, to a Chuck Berry concert where as a little girl, little tiny thing, she got to get up on stage and do the twist with Chuck Berry.
Dude, that is
she remembers that to this day and lords it over me because I've never had such an experience. So, Christian, how about you, man? Do you have a musical memory that you want to share?
I guess it just would be back to Doctor Who theme. Because I grew up with it. There's a lot. Here's the funny part. There's a lot of themes that I grew up with. I was what I call a kid of PBS. So I was growing up all the British themes, the Benny Hill Show, the Dave Allen Show, Monty Python. When those themes came out, when you heard the first couple of chords, you knew right away. Fawlty Towers, which is just a simple violin play, but you knew that in for good comedy. That's what those things remind me of. But here's the weird part. The funny part about with Doctor Who is I came in on with the Fourth Doctor, and not only did the Doctor change, but also the theme music. And every time they had a new Doctor, the theme music would change. So I thought it was pretty cool that with a new Doctor, they had a new theme song. Now, later on, I didn't know in my youthful age that there were 2 Doctor Who movies with the great Peter Cushing starring in the title role. So I finally, it was like 2 a.m. or something like that, they were playing the movie, and I said, oh, this is cool, this is great. The theme song was not used at all. In fact, there was nothing of the theme song used in the movies. I could only describe as 70s make-out adult theme music. That's what the theme song was.
Wow.
And I'm like, it was like, I'm like, what the hell is this? It's not Doctor Who.
Wow. Isn't that, and again, the lack of the music makes it memorable, makes that memory because you were so accustomed to having that iconic music associated with with the brand that you were looking at, that the lack of it all of a sudden lights you up and says, "Wait a minute, this isn't right. I'm watching." Well, in truth, Christian was up in the middle of the. Christian's mom and dad. He was up late at night listening to porn music. We just want you to know that.
Oh, my experience with music, something that I remember, is so totally opposite from that.
Okay.
And that is the Mr. Rogers theme.
Yes.
Which was written by Fred Rogers. And every time you hear that, and I remember that because I used to watch Mr. Rogers with my dad.
See? It is.
Yeah, what?
I'm getting a dad feel here.
Yeah, and I'm Rocky.
Up.
I grew up with Rocky, man.
Dina says the Rocky theme song is her memory.
Wow,
absolutely.
Dad breaks.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Seasons of Victory, is the iconic.
Yes.
Everybody.
The Eye of the Tiger.
And not that. But okay.
Sorry.
Came later, 1983. Sorry.
There you go. Well, guys, we are wrapping down to the last couple minutes here. Want to give a chance to go over our schedule a little bit, let people know where they can find us up the road. We are set to have. We will have a presence one way or the other at San Diego Comic-Con this year. Either our LA crew will be going down there, or we will. We're working out those details now. We will also. I know Christian is going to be headed to SuperCon, so check out Christian Basel talking about all things Doctor Who and Hangin' with Web Show, as well as Gallifrey stands. And Christian, you are the busiest man in media.
In fact, tomorrow night, after we've just recorded this, I'll be recording with Dr. Squee again. It seems our schedules always jump around, but yeah, 2 podcasts. And I will be representing the Hanging With team July 12th to the 15th at I believe it's the Fort Lauderdale Convention Center. I'm not sure, but go to FloridaSuperCon.com. I'm actually going to be joining Wibbly Wobbly, the Wibbly Wobbly shop. Excuse me. With them, I will be at their booth, but then, yes, I will also be doing panels, not only just Doctor Who panels, but a couple of other panels. There's going to be a team of us now doing panels and geeking out about other topics. But yeah, I will be at the Doctor Who panels, so definitely will keep you there at SuperCon.
Yeah, and coming right up at the end of June, on June 30th, we will be headed out to Casography in Cocoa, Florida, at the Space Coast Convention Center. We are looking forward to hanging with some amazing cosplayers. It's just a fantastic group of creative minds. We'll be joined out there by our good friends from Bree Cosplay and the Bombshells Cosplay, as well as our dear friends over at the Kitchen Killers. We're going to be having some fun and hanging out by the pool and enjoying some amazing geekery put on by David Grace and Jake Estrada. So that'd be June 30th at the Cocoa, Florida Space Coast Convention Center is Casography. Catch the Hanging with Web Show team there. And then again, coming up next month, you can catch members of the Hangin' with Web Show team out at San Diego Comic-Con as well. So look for us out there. We're going to have a busy summer, so every week we're going to tell you about some more events that we're going to be at. And
wait, you left out something.
Oh, you have something else, Christian?
Well, no, I'm surprised Sage didn't kick you about this. But
I wasn't doing that yet. I was going to. You know what we do? We will give them a little tiny tease, just a tease. Each week until then. That's right, because the Hangin' with Web Show's own Christian Basel has been a cosplay fan and has been, but has put himself on a self-imposed moratorium for the last 5 years. He has never actually cosplayed. But I understand.
Done a few, but nothing on a scale like we're going to do on the 30th.
That's right. So on June 30th, you guys have to turn up for Christian Basil's first official all go, no quit, all in cosplay at Casography. So,
yes,
guys, be there. You don't want to miss that. We are down to our last 30 seconds. So what we want to do is remind everybody, we want to thank our partners and our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, Off the Chain Radio with author Yvonne Mason, our great featured authors and artists who have been sponsoring the show, And, of course, our little guy, Cosplay Michael, who is looking forward to a huge reveal of his own at Cosography. Remember, everybody, keep coming back. We're here every Thursday nights on Krypton Radio, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday mornings bright and early on Krypton Radio, so tune in either day. In the meantime, you can catch us on iHeartRadio. You can catch us on Spreaker, iTunes. You can come on over to our social media accounts and check out our daily webisodes. Check some interviews with amazing authors, artists, filmmakers, creators of all kinds. And in the meantime, remember, stay logged on, stay tuned in, and see who we're
hanging with next.